Testing, testing again. I've just been talking to myself for the last 5 minutes. Testing again. I've just been talking to myself for the last 5 minutes. You know, I can now hear myself, so that's great. Thank you, Mr. Poem, for letting me know. I've just been talking to myself. I've been running through the standings and the positions, etc., etc. I won't do that again. Actually, in fact, we will, because so there'll be a few people doing their out laps. So let's quickly run through those positions for those Tier 3 drivers. This is, in fact, my favourite tier of drivers. I think they're a really good bunch. So let's quickly run through the proceedings once again. Obviously, of course, my microphone was off. Unfortunately, I had a few issues this evening with the Xbox. The Xbox downstairs randomly decided to delete the game, but thankfully, the Xbox I have situated upstairs in my dwelling. Luckily, I still had the game still on it, so I was able to come along and do the commentary this evening. So Jardine, Mr. Piggy, is leading the way with 104 points, closely followed by Sainsy with 93. Shazam having a really good season himself, in third with 80 points. 50 Gent in fourth with 75. SR Racing in fifth with 65. VFX Instinct in sixth with 65. Glue in seventh with 64. Jay Francis in the Williams team with 56 points. He resides in P8. Godzilla PJ for Team Haas in 9th place with 50 points. And rounding out the top 10, we have Late Bloomer with 39 points. Late Bloomer does have a podium to his name as well for that Aston Martin team. The Aston Martin team look as if they're doing very well indeed in Tier 3 with 50 Gent in 4th place. Well, back to proceedings, I think. Let's have a look, see who's I think it will be this man here, and we're still right on board then with Iron Batman. Let's go to Iron Batman. He seems to be the furthest along in the proceedings. Of course, the Singapore layout has changed dramatically in Sector 3 this year. Lap times dropping around 14 seconds a lap. It used to be about a 144, didn't it? Something along those lines. Maybe a bit less. That's just me being slow. Looking around the 130 remit tonight, I believe, on the softs. We'll soon find out, anyhow. Iron Batman not opting to do 2 outlaps then. I think the 5 kilos worth of fuel is to allow you to do 2 outlaps. It's quite easy to invalidate on this technical, tricky track. It says on the actual game itself. Look at the track for the time trial. We are quoted to be very hard. Okay, let me just change that then. Apologies for this. I think it is down to having to change. Hopefully you can hear me better now, and as I was speaking, Mr. Piggy crosses the line with a 131, as does Late Bloomer, so 2 decent starting laps. I don't think that's enough to get them pole. Let's go down to Sainty 93, currently in the Alpine team, and he's just going through Sector 3. Again, a driver not looking to do 2 out laps. Let's see what he can do. It's a 131.1. Sainsy at the moment in provisional P1. Popscon only managing to produce a 134.5. He'll be really, really frustrated with that lap time. I don't think he'll be overly impressed with that at all. Let's go down to DD Friend in the McLaren then. And again, unfortunately for him, his teammate Doug not able to race this evening. But DD Friend has invalidated, so we will manoeuvre away from him. Let's go down to Jay Francis in the Williams. And again, I did say earlier, I'm suffering a little bit with a cold, so if you do hear me step away from the microphone, it is simply because I'm having a rather dramatic coughing fit, and I don't want to subject you all to that. So Jay Francis getting a purple Sector 1 at the moment. To be honest with you, I'm not overly sure how fast the Sector 1 should be, but it looks as if he did lose the back end there, Jay Francis. I'm sure he'll be able to tell me this. I'm not sure whether or not he is running without traction control or not, but it was a good little turn there before the long straight. Certainly better than what I've done around this track. This is one of my worst tracks. I'm not a big fan favourite of this at all, but the current pole sitter at the moment, Sainty 93, is absolutely fantastic around this track. Oh, Jay Francis looked as if he clipped the wall there in Sector 3. Luckily for him, it didn't invalidate his time. Let's see if he crosses the line at 132.057. He could be reasonably pleased with that. He's ahead of his teammate Glue, who has invalidated on his next run. So whether or not he's got enough fuel to go back round again. Seemingly does have 100% of his battery stored. And it does look as if he's going round again. I'm guessing then he massively overfueled that Williams. DD Friend also having another go. He's in Sector 3 currently. He won't be happy with that at all. It's a 146. Dead, but possibly because he didn't use much of his ERS. I think that's... I don't think... even if you didn't use it... Sorry, I thought that was a 136. It actually turns out it's a 146. And he has just invalidated again. He'll be absolutely kicking himself there. And we're going to have to stay with DD Friend for the moment, just because the batteries have died in my controller. I tell you what, I'm not having a good evening this evening with all these issues. You'll have to bear with me just for one moment. Apologies for that, I am now back. I've actually got some working batteries. I'm not having a very good evening tonight, that's for sure. And we'll move away from DD Friend. I think we've seen enough of him for the time being. Shazam going P6 then with a 132.324. He's one of the title contenders, but he's certainly going to need a better lap than that to really push his agenda this evening for a potential race win. We've got yellow flags out in Sector 2. I think it is a Ferrari of Widget, who seemingly gone just a little bit too far into that right-hander chicane. It's quite easily done. I've seen quite a few people do it, so certainly no embarrassment for you there, Widget. Let's go then down to Glue, who's currently in Sector 2, but I think he is burning off some excess fuel here to potentially try and push the likes of Sainty 93 and Late Bloomer. Late Bloomer seemingly coming out of nowhere at the moment to reside in P2. And Bullmeister Nation, thank you for joining us this evening. Hi guys, sorry for not being able to race. I'm currently without an Xbox in lounge at the moment, but we're reserved if that's okay. Well, I'm sure that won't be a problem, Bullmeister. Good to hear from you, my friend. And wish you all the best, and hopefully you can get a new Xbox sorted as soon as possible. Glue goes P5 without having to use barely any ERS battery at all. I think he could really push Sainty here. I think Glue has a really good chance of potentially nabbing P1 off of Sainty 93, or at least working his way up into around P3, P2. Mr. Piggy at the moment with a 131.779. I think Glue, if he gets just as good a lap as last time. Oh, and I tell you what, that's not good. Not good at all. Glue having a bit of a mix-up there in Sector 2. Seemingly misjudged everything, and yeah, he will not be improving this time round. Let's go down to... Let's see if he's any quicker. I don't think he's much quicker. Let's go down to I Am Batman. He's only in Sector 1. We'll move away from him. VFX Instinct goes P11 with a 133.5. We're still yet to see Widget set a lap time, and I think Popscon can certainly improve on what was really a dross lap from the AlphaTauri driver. Much improved in recent weeks as well. And DD Friend having a bit of an argument with the wall there. I hope he's not on his flying lap, although I do think he is. But thankfully the collision with the wall hasn't invalidated his time. So Mr. Piggy currently on his flying lap, and it's looking quick. He's faster through Sector 1. He's going to have to pull out quite a lap time, though, to overtake Sainty 93. He won't have to produce too much to overtake SR Racing and Late Bloomer. Late Bloomer also out on track. Let's have a look, see where he is. And he's just in the final part of Sector 2. We'll go back to Mr. Piggy, who's now in Sector 3. And still, I think, looking quite good for the Red Bull driver. Bullmeister Nation says, "Can I rejoin the server, please, Mr. Poem?" Obviously, I can't answer that one, I'm afraid, my friend, but I'm sure that there'll be no issues there. So we'll stick them with Mr. Piggy for the time being as he crosses the line with a 130.967. Absolutely fantastic from your current championship leader. Well done to you, sir. Let's go down to I Am Batman, the other Red Bull. Late Bloomer seemingly diving into the pits. I presume he wasn't going to improve in his lap time. We've got many drivers still in the pit lane, waiting for that track to heat up as much as possible before they go for their final stint. Batman is too much quicker at the moment. But there's still plenty of the track left to go for him to improve. His teammate is having an absolutely wonderful season. They're just looking at Iron Batman's battery life. He's going to use the vast majority, if not all of it, down this straight. In fact, he barely used any of it, so shows how much I know. PRV Widget saying, possibly having to retire, got no brakes, pedal not working. Goodness me, I tell you what, mate, just get yourself on the pad and try and race that way, just for those extra points. Iron Batman diving into the pits, clearly not happy with the lap time that he was about to produce. He is nonetheless in the pits. Let's go to Jay Francis on an outlap, and VFX Instinct just coming into the pits. Currently residing in P6. And he's the only Mercedes driver out there this evening. So Jay Francis just starting his flying lap now. He's currently in P7, but I know full well that he can certainly improve on that. He'll look to try and push himself into the top 5, although through Sector 1 just there, through the first couple of the corners, didn't look overly smooth by the Williams driver. I think he'll be a little bit disappointed in that. It is, I think it said it was a little bit quicker there. Unfortunately, I can't see as well on this TV. I'm actually a little bit too close to it for my liking. But we'll stick with Jay Francis anyhow for the time being. I believe there are a couple of others out on flying laps, including Popscon, Glue and James Killer. I've ever seen James Killer race before. Whether or not he's... Oh, and Jay Francis with a bit of a muck up there, nearly losing that back end. I presume he must then be on no traction or medium traction. And he's certainly given up with that lap. And potentially going to try and recoup some battery life. And potentially then go once again. Glue a little bit slow and clips the wall as well. He'll be kicking himself there. He is certainly better than what he's showing out there at the moment. Glue currently in P5, but I do think he could push higher. SR Racing is a little bit quicker, I believe, through Sector 1 at the moment. Late Bloomer is a little bit slower through Sector 2. He's going to have, oh sorry, Sector 1. He's going to have a really good Sector 2 and Sector 3 if he's going to outpace Sainsy and Mr. Piggy. He certainly is a contender for pole position, but he's going to have to make a real big push in Sector 2 and 3. James Killer then going third fastest. He'll be really pleased with that, with what I believe is potentially a debut for him. Somebody will have to correct me if I'm wrong. It's a 131.405. Currently puts him in provisional P3 ahead of Late Bloomer. Late Bloomer seemingly struggling at the moment. Is slower through Sector 2, and PRV Widget has been disqualified from the session, blocking the pit lane. Of course, though, he does have issues with his pedals. So don't forget that. And Popscon crosses the line. It's a 133.596. He is quicker than last time out, but not quick enough to get himself up from second bottom. Late Bloomer not quick enough to move himself any higher. I tell you what, this man here certainly now has a chance to get himself up into the top 3. He looks really, really quick. We'll stick them with SR Racing if he can master the final turn. SR Racing goes up into provisional P1. It's a 130.772. Absolutely fantastic from the Haas driver. But he has got to contend with the top 2 in the championship currently, which is Mr. Piggy and Sainsy93, who's just started his flying lap. Will stick with the Alpine driver for the time being through Sector 1. We'll then move on to somebody else before returning to him when he goes through Sector 3. We've got just 27 seconds worth of qualifying remaining. If you don't complete that lap, you will not be able to set another one. So that goes for Mr. Piggy, who has just about managed to cross the line with 14 seconds left to go. Shazam and Iron Batman, I'm not overly sure if they're going to be able to beat it. I think they will. Maybe, maybe not. Let's go down to them. I don't know if they will be. I tell you what, I think it's going to be... No, Shazam's not going to be able to get there. Neither with Iron Batman. He was very, very close, but not close enough. VFX Instinct is ever so slightly slower through Sector 1. He's going to have a much better Sector 2 and 3. Glue a lot slower, and he will not be improving. The very best he can hope for then is P7. He's going to have to hope nobody else can break into that 131 barrier. Sainsy is definitely a lot quicker at the moment. Will he be able to steal away pole position from SR Racing? Will we have another battle like we did in China between Mr. Piggy and Sainsy93? I think these two have got to be the favourites for the title this season. And it's a nice final turn. It's a 130.572. He's 2/10 clear of SR Racing. What a lap. Mr. Piggy then goes fast through Q2. It did look as if he had a bit of a moment back then, just before we joined. But we'll soon find out anyway. He's just heading through the final part of Sector 3. It does look quick. DRS is down. Crosses the line. It's... Oh my goodness me. Look how close that is between the top 2. In fact, we can include the top 3. That is a fantastic qualifying session, especially from those guys at the top. But Sainsy93 will take pole position here in Singapore. A great, great drive from the Alpine mastermind this evening. Real good show from him. Hopefully Widget can get his pedals sorted. At the moment it looks as if we're only going to have 12 for the race. And of course with the race being here at the streets of Singapore, chances are we won't end with 12 either. We'll have to see. So that is the end of another fantastic qualifying session here in the UFRL Tier 3. I'll quickly run through all the positions for you then. So Sainsy 93 taking another pole position with a 130.572, a really good job from him. Mr. Piggy taking P2, SR Racing P3, James Killer P4, DD Friend P5, Late Bloomer P6, VFX Instinct P7, Glue P8, J Francis P9, Shazam P10. He'll be kicking himself with that. Currently third in the championship. He'll be pretty distraught at that. Iron Batman taking P11, Pops Kong P12, and unfortunately for Widget, due to technical issues with his pedals, was disqualified from the session. I'm just hoping and praying that he can get them sorted out for the main Grand Prix. Of course, don't forget, we will be taking a 5-minute break, so nobody push that button for goodness sake. And when we come back, the race will start almost instantaneously. There's no formation lap for this season due to the many issues that the game has caused in recent times. And throughout the race as well, I will also run through the latest Premier League scores for you all as well, just in case you're racing and you want to listen to what's going on in the Premier League. Okay, be back in 5 minutes or so. Thank you very much. We're just about to get the proceedings underway here in Singapore. Well, the lights have gone out on my screen, but not on the game. But we have now just started the proceedings. Let's go then to Mr. Piggy, who gets an absolutely flying start, but as does Sainsy. Oh, sorry, no, we're riding on board with Sainsy. Mr. Piggy gets a flying start and takes P1 from Sainsy. I did actually get a message from Sainsy during the break and said he's very, very concerned about the race start, with Mr. Piggy being really, really quick off the line. So just having a look at a couple of the tyre setups then. So Mr. Piggy, Sainsy and SR Racing, the top three, all starting on the hard compound. James Killer starting on the soft compound tyre. Perhaps expecting a early safety car. DD Friend, Late Bloomer, all on the hards. Closely with Shazam, the only other driver on the mediums. Everyone else, I think, wisely starting on the hard compound tyres. Late Bloomer looked to potentially make a move there on DD Friend. He thought about it for a moment. We'll have a look, see who's jumped up some positions here. So at the moment, Mr. Piggy's up 1, Sainty's down 1, Shazam is up 3. It's been a really good start from him. Widget's up 2, so it looks as if he's managed to get his pedals back up and running again. Jay Francis up 1, Iron Batman up 1, and VFX Instinct sadly has dropped down 6 positions. Whether or not something happened off the line, I'm not overly sure. I couldn't really notice anything. Glue now battling hard with his teammate, and it looks as if he actually went into the back of him there. Unless there was a bit of an internet connection glitch there. I don't think there was. Let's go then to Late Bloomer, once again, who's still battling hard with that McLaren. Mr. Piggy obviously setting the fastest lap of the race. I don't really know why they do that on that one. It seems a bit pointless because it's always going to be the person who is leading the Grand Prix. Let's then go down the... Oh, and VFX Instinct is having to go into the pit lane. I'm guessing he must have had front wing damage there. I wonder if Jay Francis will move out the way here for Glue. Glue seems that little bit quicker, and it looks as if team orders have occurred here, with Glue taking that position from his teammate and jumping up to P8. So Shazam now on the faster compound tyre. He's starting on the mediums. He's right on the trail of Late Bloomer and DD Friend ahead of him. James Killer, he's going to have to try and put in a little bit quicker here. He's going to have to do a two-stop, although I do think many of these drivers, certainly around this track, will more than likely have to do a two-stop strategy this evening with front wings flying everywhere. Sainsy then really, really close behind Mr. Piggy. Mr. Piggy clearly having to defend quite hard already. These two had a magnificent race in China just 2 weeks ago. Let's go to Late Bloomer, who's really battling hard now with the McLaren. But the McLaren just about retaining that position from the Aston Martin. Only one Aston Martin driving this evening. 50 Gent unable to race. He is just 3 tenths behind him. The next, DRS has just been enabled by race control. I think we should see quite a number of overtakes throughout the next couple of laps. Sainsy half a second behind Mr. Piggy. And of course, depending on setups, will Mr. Piggy once again just have that straight line speed that I remember him having in China? It looks as if it's going to be much, much the same. He does seem to have that edge on the straight line speed once more. I wonder if that's going to be the same scenario between Late Bloomer and DD Friend here. Although looking at it, there will be a bit of a what's the word I'm looking for? DRS train from James Killer back. James Killer already dropping down 2 tenths. We're going to ride on board then with Sainsy, who does look as if he gets a better exit there. But Mr. Piggy's straight line speed does look good. Sainsy looking potentially, no, decided to back out of it. I don't actually think he switched on his battery early enough there to even contemplate the dive, and Late Bloomer managing to overtake DD Friend. Don't be surprised to see DD Friend retake the position on the next DRS straight. Back to Saint in it. It's another close fought battle between the top two in the championship. We've really got to hope that these two can make it to every single race week, because I think this will go right down to the very last race between the pair of them. I don't think anyone else will end up getting involved now with 6 races through. You really only see just the pair of them battling it out. So SR Racing potentially in this race has a good chance of a race win. He's under a second behind Sainsy. I think these drivers, they've just got to be patient within their approach. Remember, we are only just the 4 laps in. This race does seem like quite a long one. Fastest lap of the race now set by VFX Instinct, but he has already had to make 1 pit stop, coming up on a fresh set of mediums. We'll stick then with this battle for the time being. Does Sainty get a better exit there? He's going to have a better exit. ERS is going to have to be ready, and DRS available to him, but still just has not got that straight line speed to even think about making a dive on Mr. Piggy. It was just that little bit too far back, even though he's seemingly got a better exit from that long sweeping left-hander. You have to slow down. Almost first gear. I think it's one of the slowest corners in the racing calendar. He's running a little bit wide there, a little bit twitchy. Let's go down to Glue then. He's just 3 tenths now behind DD Friend. Earlier I said I wouldn't be surprised if DD Friend even potentially retook the position from Late Bloomer. He hasn't managed to even contemplate it as of yet. It's been a staunch defence from the Aston Martin's driver so far. To keep far enough away from the McLaren. Now, I presume the top 3 are certainly going to be looking at the one-stop strategy. Now, I know Sainsy does have a mistake in him every now and again. Mr. Piggy, I'm not overly sure if he does. He seems like a real cool, collective customer. It seems very, very good off the start as well. Look as if the stream, if you're watching, it did seem a little bit laggy there. Hopefully it has managed to pick back up your end. Sainsy even further back this time. He may start to get a little bit frustrated as the race goes on. This is one of his favourite tracks as well. We'll go then to Glue. Racing really, really hard. But still not able to even think about an overtaking manoeuvre on DD Friend. Pops Kong having a little race in his own. At the back, he's currently residing in P12. I Am Batman is just over 3 seconds clear. Sorry, just over 2.5 seconds clear of him. Sorry, no, it is 3 seconds, isn't it? Yeah, sorry, 3 seconds clear of him. Sainsy managing to keep it within a second. DD Friend and Glue battling it out for positions. I tell you what, it's Late Bloomer who has dropped down. He's dropped down to P7. And Glue, in the meantime, will make the manoeuvre on DD Friend. Late Bloomer as well, looking to make a move on DD Friend to reclaim at least one of his positions, and manages to do so. DD Friend there, the big sufferer there, dropping down from P5 to P7, losing positions to Glue and Late Bloomer. Good overtaking manoeuvre from Glue, and Late Bloomer risked it all there, but just about managed to retake at least one of his positions that he had dropped. He was running in P5, he's now back up to P6. James Killer still out on track on those softs. I wouldn't imagine he'll be out there too much longer. Maybe another couple of laps at best. And Sainsy still behind his arch rival and nemesis, Mr. Piggy. There's a decent gap between them in the championship standings, and as things stand, it is only going to increase. Let's then drop down to Jay Francis then in the Williams. Just just over half a second behind Shazam. Not having his best race, his overall race, and a pretty poor qualifying session. Has managed to manoeuvre up a couple of places up to P8. But he will be disappointed with how things are going, especially as he is one of the contenders for the championship. I believe he's currently in P3 in the standings, just ahead of the Aston Martin of 50 Gent, who sadly cannot be racing with us this evening. And Didi Friend seemingly losing the back end there, and it looks as if Glue is now going to potentially make a move on James Killer. James Killer just about defends the position. I don't think he'll be able to retain it for too much longer. I would imagine those softs are really starting to scream out on that track right now. VFX Instinct right at the back, unfortunately for him, will be hoping at some stage for a safety car. And Glue now looking to make a move. I'm not sure he got a good enough exit there, and James Killer just about cuts off the corner there. And Late Bloomer right behind Glue as well. And they're both running on the hard compound tyre. So I don't think James Killer will be able to hold on to this position for much longer. In actual fact, I wouldn't be surprised to see him dive into the pits. Glue diving into that corner a little bit heavy as a full safety car out on track. Not quite sure on the reason why, but that works out perfectly for James Killer in the Alfa Romeo. He'll be really, really happy with that safety car. I can't see any front wing damage or anything. Maybe to Jay Francis, but then he would have pitted. Maybe it must have been Shazam. Must have been Shazam. He must have lost the front wing there. There are no cars. Maybe it's Widget. It could have been Widget. Unless he's... Yeah, it is Widget. Widget lost his front wing. Maybe those brakes are playing him up a little bit here. He moves on to the medium compound tyre. Just while we're waiting for the safety car to come in, we'll run you through the latest Premier League scorelines for those of you at home who are interested. Let's quickly run through them now. A couple of half-time scores then. In fact, no, we've gone past half-time now. Apologies. So Brighton 1, Brentford 1. They are 49 minutes into that game. Crystal Palace 0, Bournemouth Hove Albion 1. I don't think it is actually Bournemouth Hove Albion, is it? No, that's Brighton Hove Albion. Apologies there. No, it is just AFC Bournemouth. Apologies there. But Bournemouth are leading Palace and Selhurst Park by a goal to 0. The other game, Fulham have just made it. Fulham 3, Nottingham Forest 0, and Steve Cooper will certainly be feeling the pressure up in Nottingham. The latest in Chris Wilder's return to Sheffield United is Sheffield United 0, Liverpool 1, the goal being scored by Virgil van Dijk. The latest at Villa Park between Manchester City and Aston Villa is Aston Villa 0, Manchester City 0, but if you look at the stats, Villa seemingly having the better of the game there. And of course they've unbeaten at home, I think it's for around 15 games. They're having a very good season indeed. The latest in the Manchester United-Chelsea game is Manchester United 1, Chelsea 0. The goal scorer this evening, Scott McTominay. And I tell you what, it does look as if Manchester United are actually dominating that game from the stats. And I think they're the only games on this evening. Nobody's really interested in the Scottish Premier League, are they? I'm sure. So we'll leave that one. Of course, as I said, if any of you have any questions, for those of you watching with me this evening on the stream, if you have any questions, I will do my best to answer them. I'd like to know who your favourite for the race winner is. I did say beforehand that I thought Sainsy would go on and win this Grand Prix, but as we're going along, that Red Bull is looking very, very strong indeed. And, Sainsy doesn't seem to have the straight line speed to even mount a move on him. The only way he's going to potentially get him is through a mistake or the undercut. I can't see it being any other way of getting around him. He may have to pit earlier for the set of mediums and put in a really good lap, outlap from the pits, just to get around him. I think that's going to be the only way, and then hope and pray that those mediums last until the very end without them becoming a major issue here. Of course, if you don't have enough grip round here, you're certainly going to feel it. A couple of the drivers have then pitted during this safety car. That includes James Killer, Shazam, Widget, Popskong and VFX Instinct. The remaining hard runners all still on the same compound of tyre that they used at the beginning of the Grand Prix. And just confirm, Race Control have just confirmed the safety car is back in this lap. We'll go down to, we'll start with SR Racing in the Haas. We'll go to the POV. I think it gives you the best view. And Mr. Piggy gets the proceedings back underway here. Blue very close behind, but not close enough to potentially mount a manoeuvre on SR Racing. Sainsy already dropping a little bit further back. Whether or not those hards are starting to go off here. He tends to use my setups and the rears of mine the other day on this track. Certainly keeled off first before the fronts. But needless to say, Sainsy did beat me round this track the other day. He was a hell of a lot better than I. In fact, I was absolutely useless round the streets of Singapore when both myself and Sainsy raced it the other day. And in the meantime, PRV Widget is having a good old battle with I Am Batman and does manage to take 9th place. I don't know if I Am Batman has any form of damage there, because the other Ferrari of Shazam also goes round him. So whether or not the Red Bull is having some real difficulties out there, I'm not overly sure. But there is at least one Red Bull having a really good race. Sainsy right on the rear tail of Mr. Piggy, but he gets a really poor exit there. And I tell you what, SR Racing, I think, will jump up into P2. He does. SR Racing really makes the most of that big error from Sainsy 93. And the Haas driver goes up to P2. Sainsy would be absolutely kicking himself there. He'd be really disappointed with that. He's certainly better than that, but seemingly the rear tyres just seem to lose that bit of grip. And it just seemed to fall away from him at the wrong time there. It's a shame, because in terms of one lap pace, Sainsy I do think is the quickest out here. I really do believe that. Just seemingly struggling at the moment on those hards. As I said, I think the only way he's going to be able to get round Mr. Piggy and now SR Racing is with the undercut, the early undercut, and maybe even potentially going for a two-stopper and hoping for the best with safety car scenarios. And apologies there for coughing into the microphone. I'm suffering with a slight cold. I'll tell you what, SR Racing is looking really quick at the moment. Yellow flags out in Sector 2. I think it is a Red Bull off track then. VFX Instinct had to go into the pits once again. Guessing something happened off the safety car restart. Down to Sainsy once again. He's right up close behind him. This time gets a really good exit out of that difficult corner. The car does. Mr. Bose, you and Sainsy sound the same, mate. Have you been kissing again? Very nice, Singapore. He wishes. He certainly wishes. But yeah, no, it's it's certainly not the best cold. We're going to call it the Kent cold. As Sainsy now down the pit lane straight looks to reclaim P2, but unable to achieve that goal. SR Racing defending very well indeed. In the meantime, Popskong moves up to P10. PRV Widget having to come into the pits once again. I'm guessing he really is struggling with his brake pedal. I think he's coming out on fresh medium tyres. Oh dear goodness me, this blooming cold. Driving me insane. Right, let's go down then to the Ferrari of Shazam. Ooh, SR Racing, let's see what, Mr. Piggy really starting to pull out a bit of a gap there on SR Racing and Sainsy. He's been absolutely magnificent so far this evening, Mr. Piggy. You know, full credit to him as the championship leader. He seems so cool, calm and collective out there. And incredibly difficult to overtake. You know, I know firsthand actually how difficult he is to overtake. I think I raced with him at Monaco and ended the race P2, and I think Mr. Piggy took the win, or maybe P3 and he was P2. I think that might have been the case actually. But he was just so good. You know, you could never get close to him down those straights. You catch him up in the corners due to the wing setup, but down those straights he was absolutely magnificent. The defending work was superb, and he's proved that again here today in Singapore. He did a really good job in the opening. I think it was 12 laps in China as well that I was fortunate enough to commentate on. Eventually Sainsy managed to get him, but defensive work from Mr. Piggy and those starts are just absolutely phenomenal. And as I said, he's proving once again that he's certainly a Tier 2 driver for next season, that's for sure. But of course, we've still got plenty of races to go in Season 6. Correct me if I'm wrong, but is it not still another 17 Grand Prix or something along those lines, I think? Or am I wrong there? It might be a 25 race season, not overly sure, but there is quite a lot of races. Let's go down to Shazam, battling hard with Jay Francis. It's not been an overly good night for the Ferraris tonight, and Shazam certainly won't be happy with his position as he hunts down Mr. Piggy and Sainsy in the battle for the Drivers' Championship. Luckily for him, there are still, I think it is 19 races left to go. 3-second time penalty is well picked up by Didi Friend. Did he just crash into the wall there and receive a 3-second time penalty? I'm not really sure where he could have cut the corner there. But the Ferrari seemingly getting a better exit there than Jay Francis and will move up into P8. It's a good manoeuvre by the Ferrari. And, well, Mr. Piggy did have a reasonably good lead. But doesn't seem to anymore. And Sainsy is all over the back end of that Haas in front of him. He's going to have DRS available to him. But again, the straight line speed of that Alpine seems absolutely atrocious compared to the rest of the field. It's got to be something to do with the setup, obviously, due to the fact that we are racing in equal cars. But he just doesn't seem to have that straight line speed at all. Mind you, having said that, SR Racing, though, does have the DRS available to him. He's within a second now of Mr. Piggy. That was 1.5 seconds not too long ago. But the second and third have now managed to close that gap. PRV Widget getting the new fastest lap of the race, a 1:34.663. Really well done to him there. So Shazam now all over the back of DD Friend. DD Friend going a little bit too quick into that corner and will have lost some time to Glue ahead of him. Glue pulling 2 seconds clear. Mr. Bowen saying, a dirty night in Singapore. Oh, I think I've already read that one. Apologies. This cold is seriously getting the better of me this evening. But Shazam now down the straight. He has got the inside line. Will there be contact? No, there's not. Late Bloomer has left the session. So if you are watching at home, if you can potentially get Late Bloomer back into the game, that'll be much appreciated. Unfortunately, I don't have him as a friend on Xbox or EA, I believe. So unfortunately, I won't be able to assist with that. Glue very, very close behind James Killer, but not close enough to contemplate making a manoeuvre on him. James Killer is on much fresher medium compound tyres as well. So James Killer, in theory, should be quite a bit faster. Sainsy just having some real difficulty in mounting any sort of overtaking manoeuvre. Now, whether or not Mr. Piggy has maybe even thought of a concept of backing SR Racing up into Sainsy, so SR Racing can maybe have a little bit of DRS as well to defend against Sainsy. Whether or not that's something that he would even contemplate about, but SR Racing does look really quick around this track. Sainsy having a touch with the wall there. Late Bloomer has managed to rejoin the Grand Prix. It's good news for him, but unfortunately he has lost out on a couple of positions. Shazam is now up into P7 as well, and Jay Francis is up into P8. Late Bloomer has left the session once again. He must be having some really bad connection issues this evening. We're nearly, in fact we're probably just about through the halfway stage of this Grand Prix. At the moment the race is being led by Mr. Piggy, closely followed by SR Racing and Sainsy 93, with James Killer not too far behind Sainsy 93, either in Glue not too far behind him. I tell you what, the battle in the top 5 is looking very, very interesting indeed. And at some stage I'm pretty sure this man here will be leading the Grand Prix. I do wonder if Sainsy will contemplate soon diving into the pits. In fact, he is now diving into the pits. He's going to have to get a real good pit stop here. He's got to make sure he doesn't pick up a 5-second penalty, which he doesn't. He's got to have a good pit stop though. He's going to have to get out as fast as possible. Glue pitting as well. Both of them going for the undercut strategy here. He'll have to run 15 laps or so on the mediums, but of course there is... Oh, and it is a front wing change for Sainsy. That may be the reason why he's pitted. I think Glue's got out in front of him as well, hasn't he? Yeah, he has. Oh dear, it's just going from bad to worse for the Alpine driver. And your Tuesday night commentator. Not ideal at all for him. I'm guessing he must have gone into the back of SR Racing at some stage. So that puts James Killer up into P3 at the moment. Popscone just moving up to P7, overtaking Late Bloomer, but Late Bloomer is not currently in the game, seemingly having some form of connection difficulties. Popscone seemingly struggling himself there a little bit with his internet connection. Seems to be sort of dabbing about all over the place. SR Racing thought about making a manoeuvre there on Mr. Piggy to potentially take P1. And I tell you what, in the process, James Killer is right behind the front two. He's got the ERS available to him. Mr. Piggy, though, once again defending absolutely fantastically, will now dive into the pits. James Killer carries on. SR Racing also diving into the pits. Now, I can't for the life of me imagine that, unfortunately, Sainsy or Glue will come out ahead of these two. I think they're going to be too far back. Let's just have a look. Glue just coming. Oh, full safety car as well. Oh, blimey. Wow, that has worked out incredibly well for Mr. Piggy and SR Racing. That has worked out really well indeed for them two. The perfect timing, and it's unfortunate as well because nobody's crashed out. It seems like quite a light safety car. And whether or not Sainsy's pitting again, is he? Yeah, Sainsy going into the pits again, whether or not he's picked up another wing damage. Bizarre. Perhaps he's just deciding that he's going to have another fresh set of mediums on. Who knows? So, of course, then, as we're waiting, let's run through the latest Barclays Premier League scores. So now it is Brighton 2, Brentford 1. 66 minutes through in that one. Crystal Palace 0, Bournemouth 1. Fulham still 3-0 to the good against Nottingham Forest. Liverpool still 1-0 up against Sheffield United. The only goal coming from Liverpool skipper Virgil van Dijk. Aston Villa 0, Manchester City 0. And then the latest in the Manchester United versus Chelsea game is Manchester United 1, Chelsea 1. Cole Palmer has just equalised for Chelsea. And it's seemingly against the run of play as well there. Manchester United in the first half alone having 18 shots on goal. And Chelsea just the 5, so it's definitely against the run of play there. And just looking at the, I'll tell you what is that? That's James Killer coming into the pits, as is Shazam. Both chucking a set of hard compound tyres there. Popscong staying out. I think maybe he should have looked to have pitted for a fresh set of mediums there, but he'll be pleased anyway. He'll be getting a bit of a nosebleed at the moment up the top. I don't think he's ever been behind the safety car, although it does look as if he's left the session, so bear with me as I try and invite him back. I'm just going to try and invite him back to the game, as I do have him as a friend. And the wife is just asking me if I would like any water. She can clearly hear my throat is starting to give way, so we'll just respond to her momentarily. And I don't think he's back in the game just yet, but I'll keep an eye on that nonetheless. So as things stand then, so Popscong is leading the way, but he will have to pit again. Mr. Piggy is the real race leader. James Killer is third. SR Racing fourth. Shazam fifth. DD Friend 6th, J Francis 7th, Late Bloomer 8th, VFX Instinct is 9th, Glue 10th, I Am Batman 11th, Sainsy 12th, and PRV Widget is down in 13th place. Sainsy would be absolutely kicking himself. He was leading this Grand Prix and is now effectively in the position that he's in now, which is 12th. He's going to have a real mighty comeback, but doesn't seem to have any straight line speed. He's going to have to try and overtake all these people in the corners, and I think he'll be a little bit disappointed with how his Grand Prix has turned out this evening. Apologies there, just had to have a bit of a coughing fit. So let's have a look at the positional changes then so far. So Pop's gone up 11 places. It's not quite right though, really. He is one of the drivers that will have to pit once again, unless he gets another full safety car. I think he's going to, I think he's certainly going to struggle up there. Mr. Piggy, he theoretically is at least up one position. James Killer up 1, SR Racing down 1, Shazam up 5, having a much better Grand Prix than he was earlier on. DD Friend down 1, J Francis up 2, Late Bloomer down 2, Instinct down 2, but it has been a pretty good recovery from him. At one stage he was 30 seconds down on P12, so he's actually done incredibly well to get himself back up into P9. Glue down 2 currently. I Am Batman remains the same. Sainty down 11 places. Safety cars and front wing changes just haven't gone his way at all. He did say to me before the race he needed to get a good start, and it wasn't a bad start. It's just unfortunately Mr. Piggy is really good at starts and then defends so well as he finds himself down 11 places, and Widget stays the same. Not being able to qualify due to some pedal issues. Thank you very much, UFRL Formula 1. Pops is back in. That is good, but he'll be absolutely pooping his pants right now with the thought of being first place and leading a safety car. He'll be sitting there, I'm sure, smiling away to himself, but also very concerned and panicky about the cars that are behind him. For goodness sake, just the internet connection seems a little bit bad, and Mr. Piggy, I think wisely hanging back there from Popscong. He seemed to jump at like a second clear of him. In fact, it looks like it's a really good start by Popscong. He's 1 and a bit seconds clear of Mr. Piggy. James Killer all over the back of Mr. Piggy then, and you would think that those hards, if he can stay with Mr. Piggy, he'll make a really good hash of it. And he's contemplating it here, James Killer, but Mr. Piggy is absolutely flying down that straight. Oh, I think Popscon's internet is not working as it should be. Thankfully, he's ghosting. I think he's really struggling with his connection this evening. Has seemingly moved down to P4, now off the line. And now P5, Shazam's managed to get him. And in the meantime, Sainty having a really good restart to the safety car. He's already up into P9. And he's very, very close to the rest of the field ahead of him. But unfortunately for him, the rest of the field is also very, very close as well. Popscon has left this session. I think his internet is absolutely atrocious this evening. It doesn't look good at all. And I'm actually quite thankful in a way that... oh, it's a 3-second time penalty for Sainty 93. He's just about to move up into P8. Not ideal at all for the Alpine driver. James Killer and SR Racing having a good little battle there, but James Killer still retaining that position from him. Mr. Piggy is now just over half a second clear of him. It won't be enough when that DRS is turned back on. Sainty really working his way well through the field. Now sets his sights on Jay Francis. Both running on the medium compound tyre. Man goes on holiday a few times a year but can't get good internet. What is going on? Yeah, no, I've tried explaining to him what he needs to get, but I think you can blame the mother there for that one. Right, let's go. She'd sooner get a new handbag or something, I suspect. The SR Racing now looking to make the manoeuvre on James Killer here. James Killer seemingly also having internet connection difficulties. Seems to be lagging in and out there. But SR Racing up into P2. But he is now 1.5 seconds behind Mr. Piggy. He's going to have to push really hard if he's going to catch him. Go down to the battle between, let's go to this one, Shazam versus James Killer. Now James Killer seemingly almost just diving into the corner. I think he's either overcooked it or just panicked. Not overly sure, but that's really going to kill his race here. That's not good at all from James. I do feel sorry for him because he's had a really good race. And Viva saying, evening, what's happened to Sainty this time? I think it's a few things. Safety cars, he had to have a front wing change. I think he had to have 2 front wing changes. DD Friend diving in far too deep there. And the Aston Martin, the late bloomer, nearly making the most of it. Sainty up into P6. Oh, and late bloomer and DD Friend have crashed. Is that going to be a full safety car? I think it is. Or is that a virtual? Just be a virtual. I can't. Oh no, there is a safety car coming out on track. It is a full safety car. Sainty's managed to get himself up into P4. It's a big coming together though between late bloomer and I think it was Jay Francis. I'm not 100% sure. Might have been Shazam, or it could have even been Sainty. I'm not 100% sure either way. But Sainty has managed in the meantime. Moved himself back up to P4. Viva saying, is it softs time? Black Panther, are they going to pit? I don't know, you know. It's only a... I thought it was a full safety car, but... The safety car is definitely out on track, but on screen it's showing a virtual safety car. But I can see on the mini-map that the safety car is definitely out on track. It is, yeah, safety car. I do wonder with this game sometimes. Do you guys not think it's a little bit too early though? And Viva saying, I think DD got wing damage at the final corner before the incident. Black Panther saying FIA is a shambles. DD Friend has retired. He retired on track or in the pits. I'm not 100% sure. But we have lost just the one driver, which I tell you what isn't actually that bad, considering the track that we're on. Singapore, certainly one of the harder tracks on the F1 calendar. Sheng Lu saying, thank you, EA. Yeah, certainly not a wonderful producer of games, that's for sure. is that Sainzy? Sainzy going into the pits once again. How many times has this man pitted this evening? Oh, just the 3. I tell you what, I thought it was more than that, but it is just the 3 times that Sainzy has gone into the pits. But of course, that is 3 times within 23 laps. We've got just over 8 laps of racing to go. So Sainzy, Instinct, Late Bloomer and James Killer all coming out on new soft tyres. They've listened to Viva's instructions here. Will it pay dividends? I think in theory, looking at it now, surely the best that Sainzy can really hope for is a top 4, top 3 finish. But I don't think he'll take too long to manoeuvre his way around Widget, Kong and Batman. They're not having the best of Grand Prix today. But I think the real challenge starts from Glue upwards. Shazam is now having a really good end to this Grand Prix. Had a little bit of a bad start, but certainly seems to be having a much better end to the Grand Prix. SR Racing doing really, really well. And Viva saying 3-second pen or more. I believe it is 3 seconds. Yeah, 3 seconds for Sainzy, 3 seconds for Instinct, and 3 seconds for Late Bloomer. See, I love looking at the position change, but most of the time doesn't really mean too much in the grand scheme of things, especially with the safety cars. And again, the safety cars going back round once more, so let's go for the latest scorelines in the Barclays Premier League. So it's Brighton 2, Brentford 1, Crystal Palace 0, Bournemouth 1, Fulham 4, Forest 0. Do you think Steve Cooper could be in for a world of trouble at Forest if these scorelines keep continuing? Sheffield United back under the tutelage of Chris Wilder are just the 1-0 down to Liverpool. Aston Villa, Manchester City 0-0 half-time, and Manchester United 1, Chelsea 1, and half-time as well. And Viva saying Sainzy P3, I think, and then changing his mind, going for maybe P4. Black Panther saying, come on, Ferrari boys. Looking back through the Discord chat the other day, wasn't there a bit of an issue with the Ferrari team on Monday night or something along those lines? I didn't pay too much heed to it, but it seemed to be a bit of a dramatic turn of events on Monday night with the Ferrari and Mercedes team, was it? Something along those lines anyhow. But I'm sure after the event was all sorted, the stewards have cracked down and cracked the whip on all those involved. I tell you what, I would really struggle to be a steward. I would certainly find it very, very tough indeed. DD Friend has now left the session. Race Control has just confirmed that the safety car is back in this lap. And Viva just saying, controversial team. I should imagine Viva knows all too well with... I believe you were the head steward, weren't you, Viva? Is it now changed? Have you left that role now, or is that going to be after Christmas? And Shen Glue saying, get them, Francis. So the two Williams are going to battle it out for a place on the podium with the Ferrari of Shazam ahead of him, SR Racing in the Haas, and Mr. Piggy in that Red Bull. I think he's going to be quietly confident here, Mr. Piggy. Then SR Racing has looked really, really quick this Grand Prix. We're going to ride on board then with Shazam. Oh, he seemingly went into the rear of SR Racing then. That will cost him on the restart. Whether or not he's received any front wing damage, I'm not overly sure. I do wonder now how quick these soft drivers are going to be. Sainzy looking to go down the inside of Iron Batman, does manage to take the position, as does VFX Instinct. I believe Late Bloomer has spun or was clipped on the first bit, and Glue, I think, is missing. Yeah, I'm guessing he's having issues with the EA servers. I feel sorry for him because he's raced really, really well, but Sainsy has manoeuvred himself up into P5. Jay Francis now battling it out hard here with Shazam. Jay Francis moves up into the final podium position. But he is going to have a real onslaught from Sainsy 93 on those fresh soft tyres, who is now battling Shazam, who's on used hards. Shazam almost seemingly thinking, I can't compete with this, I'm going to move out the way. I'm on the hard compound tyre, he's on the soft. Sainsy is on a roll here. He's now got Jay Francis ahead of him. Oh, Black Panther just confirming to me Shazam has damage. And I presume that's from his incident with SR Racing at the start of the safety car scenario. Yellow flag's out in Sector 3. I don't think it's enough for any virtual or anything like that. Sainsy under a second behind Jay Francis. He's going to hope and pray that those softs last the distance. We've got PRV Widget now just behind James Killer, but they are both on soft compound tyres. And looks as if Shazam having to come into the pits there, and I presume to get a new front wing. And in the meantime, Sainsy has managed to move himself up into P3. He's just under 2 seconds behind SR Racing, but gaining very, very fast. Unfortunately for him, though, he does have that 3-second time penalty looming large over his head. But he is looking really, really fast. Viva just saying, can Sainsy win? And Glue saying, not with Williams in his way. Unfortunately, the Williams has now manoeuvred himself out of the way. Jay Francis is down in 4th now. Sainsy is right behind SR Racing and Mr. Piggy as well. I tell you what, I think they might be starting to panic up ahead here. Sainsy's going to have to make these moves quick, though, if he's going to be able to potentially win here in Singapore. He has made one move already. Sainsy up into P2. What a storming drive this is from the Alpine on those fresh softs. Oh, SR Racing, though, looking to reclaim the position. Is there going to be contact between the pair of them? No, it's good, clean racing from both of them, as Sainsy just about manages to retain the position. He's now got to... Oh, and he's lost the back end, and SR Racing will now surely reclaim that position. All that hard work undone by Sainsy there, be kicking himself. It is good hard battling there. Sainsy just about manages to avoid a collision with SR Racing, and Black Panther saying, Sainsy going for it. He is absolutely trying his best here. He's having a real good hash at it. To even be 3rd at the moment, I think he'll be really, really pleased with that, considering how his overall race has gone. This man's race has been absolutely fantastic, as has this man's. They've been absolutely sensational this whole race. Really, really solid. Sainsy's going to have to make these moves, and he's going to have to make them very, very soon. Shen Glue saying, Francis, don't lose the DRS train. Just about outside it at the moment, unfortunately, Glue. SR Racing, oh, he collides with Mr. Piggy there, and he now drops down to P3. I bet he was sitting there thinking, I wish it would have caused more issues for Mr. Piggy, but Mr. Piggy just seemed to glide round the corner, casual as anything. And Viva saying Piggy was always a bit underrated in Tier 2. I thought he was absolutely fantastic in Tier 2. I think defensively, this guy is absolutely brilliant. Always cool, calm and collective out in front. I mean, he's certainly got to be, I would say, he's probably the favourite for the championship. But Sainsy now looking to try and change that. Oh, and there is a touch between the pair of them. Sainsy should really let him go back through there. But Sainsy, yeah, I think he's going to let him go here. Maybe. He contemplated it anyway, but oh, and he's touched him again. Oh, dear. Virtual safety car, Mr. Piggy is out of the Grand Prix. And SR Racing picking up a 5-second penalty. Oh dear. Yeah, I don't really know what to say to that. I think there will be some swear words and words certainly of displeasure in the Discord chat coming the way from Mr. Piggy. It certainly wasn't ideal at all from the new race leader, Sainty 93. But we'll see what happens out on track. You know, there's potential now, really, with the penalties ensuing that James Killer could potentially go on and win this Grand Prix. I think there's a real good chance of that. In actual fact, that does me the world of good, being a member of the Alfa Romeo team. It is a full safety car. Seems like a very late full safety car. What are we going to get? Maybe one lap of racing? I don't think Sainsy or Instinct are going to be able to pull enough clear of James Killer. What a weird race we've had. It's certainly not the ideal way to end what's been a really good Grand Prix either. I think, as I said, I think there'll be quite a few swear words and all sorts in the Discord chat, but nothing I'm sure the stewards can't sort out after the Grand Prix. So I think Sainzy's definitely on for a podium. I think Instinct probably will as well. James Killer, I think, is looking likely to win the Grand Prix if he can stay within 3 seconds of the other two drivers. I think he's got every chance of doing that. We're going to probably see about 2 laps of racing. I suspect the safety car will be back in this lap. Yeah, I was about to say that actually. Francis, as Viva's just said there, Francis was P3. I don't know how he's down there. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what happened with Jay Francis, but Black Panthers just confirmed that Francis had damage. Tabo Jr. Red Bull car spun and was on the way of Francis. So whether or not that incident has caused quite a bit of chaos throughout the grid. Apologies there for coughing. I haven't seen anything come up with the safety car coming in this lap, but I'm guessing it probably is. Yeah, it is. It's back in, and the front two have seemingly stormed clear of James Killer. James Killer now a long way back. We're going to go to the leader way of looking at things for now, with just a couple of laps left to go here. Can Sainsy pull clear enough to win the Grand Prix? He's got to get 3 seconds clear. At the moment he's about 2.5. I think he's on slightly fresher tyres. Yeah, 1 lap fresher, so it's really not a lot. It's about 2.6 seconds at the moment clear. Now 2.8. It's going to be really, really close. Really, really close. And television saying, what the hell was that safety car? Yeah, that was for the incident involving Mr. Piggy, unfortunately. And at the moment, James Killer has fallen 3 seconds, 3.1 seconds behind your current race leader and pole sitter, Sainsy 93. People say, Michael Massey, sort it out. Yeah, I think the stewards are going to have their hands full this evening. Sainsy getting a bit of a poor exit there. Maybe those rear tyres are starting to die off here. And in fact, that could well have cost him. He's now just 2.6 seconds clear of James Killer. It's going to go right down to the wire here. I thought when it pulled 3 seconds clear, that it was pretty much all over, but I think it's going to go right down to the wire here. I don't see Instinct making a challenge on Sainsy here. I think he's too far back. He's over a second back. But I think James Killer certainly has a chance of picking up the win here. Is it James Killer's debut today, guys? If you can just confirm that in the chat for me, that would be wonderful. I don't think I've seen the name before, but then I wasn't around last Wednesday, so that could be the reason why. But that would be a really good result for the Alfa Romeo team anyway, which I'm happily a part of, although recently Tuesdays have been quite hard to race on due to working commitments. And Black Panther just confirmed, I don't think it is his first race. Seems to be the... he's seen the name before, he believes. So, yeah, I mean, I think the chances are, I think Sainsy, I think you're right, Tunnel Vision, will pick up a penalty for that incident. So, I think at the moment, I think it is still James Killer who will win the Grand Prix. Let's just see what the difference is between the... Ooh, I tell you what. If Instinct can push hard enough here, he could potentially win the Grand Prix, but we are going to have to go out on what we see out on track. James Killer, though, dropping that position now. So I think in theory it is pretty much all over for him. So we will ride on board then with Sainsy, who does win this Grand Prix out on track. But I think there are issues that will maybe need to be looked into by the stewards for the incident involving Mr. Piggy, sadly. But it was a very, very intriguing race. A lot certainly happened. We had a number of safety cars, which I don't think really always warranted safety cars, but we did have them nonetheless. And Black Panther just confirming to me that James Killer drove last race in Imola. Unfortunately, I wasn't around for that then, so but nonetheless, a great performance from James Killer anyway. He takes at least third place at the moment. So a really good drive from him. So it is, at the moment, another race win in the bag for Sainsy 93. As things stand, I believe he would go ahead, barring any penalty scenarios. I think he would go ahead of Mr. Piggy in the battle for the Drivers' Championship. But, you know, it was one of them races. Unfortunately, he did have to push really hard to get back up to where he wanted to be. And I think he just maybe overcooked it a little bit. Yeah, we've all done it in the past, that's for sure. So the final finishing order then, Sainsy 93 taking first place, VFX Instinct in second place, James Killer in third, J Francis fourth, Late Bloomer fifth, PRV Widget sixth, SR Racing taking P7, Glue P8, Shazam P9, Popskong rounding out the top 10, I Am Batman in 11th, and sadly unable to finish the Grand Prix, Mr. Piggy and DD Friend. So I'd like to thank you all once again for joining me this evening. Thank you very much. I've been King Kong 1471, and hopefully I'll be able to jump back into the hot seat for next Wednesday's edition of the UFRL Tier 3 Championship. Unfortunately, I don't have the calendar to hand, but thank you very much, and another really exciting jam-packed race here in Singapore. Thank you very much, and good night.